What's going on, guys? YouTube Live, Sensible Prepper, Robbie Wheaton, WheatonArms.com.
YouTube.
That's what I say. Did I say YouTube?
YouTube.
Okay, good. We haven't even done a Facebook in a long time.
But because we started out doing the Facebook thing, I still like, hey, going to do my Facebook Live. I mean, YouTube Live. So it's became a ingrained habit now.
Well, we really appreciate Robbie. He's been a gunsmith for over 20 years and has WheatonArms.com, does a lot of Glock aftermarket parts. The flat face trigger is the bomb. I say that every week, but it is. And also GoMed gear.
Yep.
We're securing a lot of medical supplies. It feathers in with his gun parts because you need to have trauma kits. You need to have medical supplies. You have a flash sale coming up.
We do. We've got a flash sale coming up the 18th of this month. It'll start at midnight on the 17th and run through midnight on the 18th. And going to have some awesome sales on there. So make sure you go on and check that out. And sign up for our newsletter as well on GoMed gear and also on Wheaton Arms for some great gunsmithing articles on medical gear, and then sales and stuff we have, and inventory updates as well.
And we do have the website GoMed gear down in the description. We do not have Wheaton Arms because YouTube will give us a spank
because they don't like
Robbie Wheaton. But we like Robbie, so we're going to do it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about your get home bag, and we're going to talk about some philosophy, just some things, because here's the thing, there is no set way. There's no set way. And really, there are some foundational principles that we're going to talk about, but then there are some optional things, and you have to decide. Now, we really appreciate Sportsman's Guide for sponsoring today's episode, and you get $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, SOOTCH. That's it. And we really appreciate them because they're just great prices, great people.
Absolutely. And you got to sign up for their Buyers Club as well. The Buyers Club, you get free shipping on almost every item they have in the store, with the exception of ammo and a couple of other small things. But almost everything they have, their big bulky items, you get free shipping on it. It'll pay. I can't even speak English today.
Well, good. You joined me.
I know. You're rubbing off on me. Such a bad influence.
We can't edit and cut that out.
No. Hey, guess what? You guys just saw Blooper Live.
You don't see many more.
But you get free shipping on everything, big bulky items. It'll pay for itself in no time. And they've got the best magazine out there. If you don't get their magazine, if you don't do anything else, sign up just to get their magazine. Dude, these things are awesome.
Yeah, there's one thing about going on a website online. Yeah. But there's so much stuff. You're clicking categories.
That's right.
It's different when you go through a catalog.
It is.
Also, well, the Buyer's Guide does give you much better pricing. They have the buyer's pricing.
Yep.
So
they show both prices in the catalog.
So anyway, we just really appreciate them. Okay, so get home bag. Now, I am not a big bug out bag person. And we have talked about some different things. In fact, I think our last live stream, we were talking about, why it's a bad idea to bug out. Now, it's necessary. There are things, obviously that you may have to leave your home.
Right. Circumstances could dictate it. But overall, you want to try and bug in and stay at home as much as possible because everything you have is there.
Right. You're bunkering in. But if you're on the road, you got to get home to bunker in. And so that's really what your go bag is. And we've talked about go bags quite a bit here, and we're going to talk about them again because it's just one of those things that, guys, you really need to have your essentials with you.
It's just that important.
It is
just that important.
It is that important. And so one of the things I always say, if you're planning on bugging out and that's your plan, you're a glorified refugee. So guys, again, we did a thing on the Oregon Trail and people leaving their homes and going, and they had a wagon and just full of stuff, and that was all they had. But one of the things about a get home bag is you have to balance what you have, your needs, to the weight, because really we can come up with all kind of stuff to pack in here. We can pack the kitchen sink in here.
We could pack a wagon's worth.
Yeah, you can have a big old bag. But the thing is it's going to wear on you. And you need to be somewhat mobile as much as possible, and you need to be able to get to your destination. One of the things, though, that you can do is, guys, if things get heavy, identify the things you don't need, and you can toss them out. So that is one thing about it. It's not like you put it in here and it has to stay in here. If it's something that needs to be tossed out, you can. Now, one of the big things that I base all of my survival kits on, because I not only have a get home bag, and everyone in my family has one. I've prepared one for each person. But we also Now, what am I was sitting there talking about that, and then I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, I base all of my get home bags, all of my survival kits on the rule of threes. That's going to allow you to focus in on the things that are dire necessities. Now, obviously, when you're a prepper or you're trying to get prepared, it can be expensive. So don't necessarily run out and buy the most expensive knife, the most expensive flashlights, the most expensive whatever. I mean, they've got it out there. They'll market it to you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll market it to you because a lot of times I like some of that stuff because I've been through some of the lesser quality things. But one of the things that for Fowl down in Argentina, when they had their economic collapse, when it happened, he had one of those Rambo knives, those cheap commercial Rambo
1995, 1985
survival
knife.
Yeah, it was, and it had a survival kit in it and all that. He said he went through that whole period of time with that Rambo survival knife. But the thing is, he had a knife. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and buy cheap stuff because if you do, it will break. But you guys, we just went to the Blade Show this past weekend, and there was one knife that went for $6,000.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, the sky's the limit when it comes to this stuff. You have to put it together. One of the things that I've done over the years is I've upgraded as I've gone along. Got a video about how to put together and I said bug out bag, but it's a Walmart. I went to Walmart. I made the cheapest bag I could possibly make. And then I went back and got the best items they had and did that. That's when I was shopping at Walmart. I no longer shop at Walmart because of their stand. But guys, you need to have a good solid bag as much as possible.
That's
because
right.
This is going to contain everything. Now, of course, the rule of threes. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go through them quickly. Then we're going to go back and talk about each one. Some of the things that I do and Robbie does to kind of, you know, take care of those things. So number one is you got to breathe. You got to breathe. And you have 3 minutes that you can live without air. And all these are subjective, obviously, but the rule of threes is pretty close. So 3 minutes without air, 3 hours if you're exposed in harsh environments.
That's right. Inclement weather.
Whether it's hot, cold, doesn't matter. Wet.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of different things. So you got 3 hours. Then it goes to 3 days without water. So that's a big one. Water's a big one. You need to stay hydrated. 3 weeks without food. And then you have medical supplies and self-defense that flow in between those. And so you've got everything that I put together when I'm doing it, so it's not overwhelming. I go, okay, let's get our one of our necessities. Now, one of the things that I use for that, well, it's not that, is a bandana. A bandana can do a multitude of things.
Yes.
I mean, it can carry your water, it can carry supplies, you can build a hobo thing, you can lay this out and do work on it. You can wipe things. You can actually use this as fire tinder. You can make char cloth out of it. I mean, there's a ton of things. And let me just say this. This is not a bushcraft get home bag. We're not talking about, you know, flint and steel and using, you know, friction to start your fire. We're talking about you could be in an urban situation. You can be in a suburban situation. But we're not really looking at being out in the woods because that's not where we're going. Because we're just trying to get home.
It's funny you say that about flint and steel. Flint and steel is so cool to be able to learn how to use it and start a fire and everything with it. But lighters are cheap.
Yes, they are.
Lighters are cheap. And you know, my get home bag, I've got like 5 or 6 lighters in that bag because if one goes dead, throw it to the side, grab another one.
Because one will go dead.
They will, absolutely. It's just Murphy's Law, you know. But I keep 5 or 6 in my get home bag, and there's also a flint and steel in there for, you know, for that. Oh crap! Everything quit working. You know, apparently all of my lighters got pressed at the same time and burned all of my gas in my pack. So I do keep a flint and steel in there. But as cheap as lighters are, and as easy as they are to use, I always keep a multiple set of lighters in my pack.
We're going into fire kits in a minute.
Sweet. I love jumping ahead.
Yeah, I know you do. That's all right. That's okay. That's part of it. But guys, the big thing is this can cover your face. One of the things I like to keep this, and you know, the one thing I would do is if I needed, you know, if I was in a situation, first thing I would do is take this, put it over my head, and I've got it. If I need it, I can put it up over my face. You know, if I need to, whatever, you know, I've got it right there. And it does keep your neck warm, I mean, cool or warm, according to what kind of conditions you're in. Of course, we're heading into summer, but this video will be watched in the wintertime.
And if I would have known we were wearing bandanas today, I would have been all over that.
I know you would have, because you were like me. When I was younger, I had a bandana. So we're going to pass out bandanas.
We started out with a 1985 Rambo knife, and now we're going full 1985.
Yeah, there you
That's
go, man.
Right.
There you go. We're ready to rock. Okay, so bandanas. I've got a video on it. It's got like 50 uses for a bandana.
Yep.
But the big thing is air. You need to keep your air. Now you can get some different filter masks. You can get that. You can get even respirators, but I don't know, it's going to add weight. So this is a great substitute for most of the things you're going to deal with. One thing though that I like to do is to keep everything that I'm going to use right away in this pouch right here. And that's one of the things about organizing your bag is where you have outside pouches, make sure that that's where your important items are. And then as you get back into it, the things that you have time to pull out to use, you can get to it. Okay, so this is air, and this is pretty much what I use. Next is inclement weather. And, guys, one of the things about it, again, is you have 3 hours to exposure. Now, I've got a military poncho here, and these are great. They're a little weighty, but they're great. And you can, keep you out of the rain, keep you from getting, cold, keep you out of the exposure.
Yep.
And also, I have a Wooby down there that's they're fairly inexpensive. In fact, I bought all of this on Sportsman's Guide. And in fact, I bought one for the whole family, bought a whole set. This is something we just keep in our car. But, that really works well. It's fairly inexpensive, and it's tested.
That's right.
Military tested. But one thing that I keep in my bag here is one of the, let me see. I can't remember how to say it now. Arcturus, the Arcturus emergency space blanket. Now this is or space tarp. This is a tarp, and it has Mylar on the inside, but it's camouflaged on the outside. And I got this in here one time. I can get it back in there again. But you can get different colors. You don't have to get camo, especially if you're in more of an urban or a suburban situation. But on the inside, you've got the reflective material that's going to reflect and radiate your heat back on you. This is in place of a space blanket, even though I do have a space blanket in my trauma kit, because that can keep you from shock.
It does, and the space blankets are so small and compact, it's easy to put 4 or 5 of them in your pack and not add a ton of weight to your pack or a ton of bulk to your pack.
Right. The big problem is they tear. And sometimes you got one use. I really like the SOL Space Bivy, which has the material inside. In fact, I've got one down at the bottom here, which you can get into, and it has that Mylar material. It's still light and it's still easy to use, but it's durable. You can use it a number of times. So first thing is, guys, is figure out your shelter. Now with this has eyelets, which gives it a big advantage over your space blankets because you can make this into a shelter. And then too, I typically, in fact, I took them out for something I was doing, keeping tent stakes. And to be honest, there's a lot of different stakes out there. You can actually make your stakes. You can make your tent stakes if you want to spend the time to do it. For me, if I want to set up my shelter, they're very easy to carry. There's a number of different kinds. To be honest, I just get the metal ones with the little hook.
Yeah, the aluminum ones with the hook. And I tell you something that you can use in place of the aluminum ones with the hook, because sometimes if you're like here in the South, the ground is crazy hard with this red clay that we've got. It's hard to drive those in. They bend and everything. If you live in an area like we do here where the ground is super hard, go to your local like Lowe's or Home Depot and get gutter spikes. They're aluminum. They're like 7/16 inch in diameter and about 1 foot long. And you can drive those into the ground really easy. They don't weigh a lot. They don't take up any more space than the little aluminum hooked ones.
And they're probably
they're a lot more durable.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So there are just some different options. Now, one thing that I really like, and I keep them in all of my bags, and I'm gonna have to get it because it's at the bottom, is a trash bag. And I really love the heavy meal trash bags, if I can find it. But they are excellent.
Well, once again, that's another part that you can keep in your bag that has multiple uses. You can use it to put trash in. You can use it to put water in. You can use it for a poncho, especially the big ones. There it is. The great big ones. It's easy to make a poncho out of those. This is huge. Yeah.
You can make a poncho out of this. They're really big. And what I do is get the contract
for average size man.
Well, you need 2, but Robbie will need 2 of these. There was a really renowned survival expert that was asked if he had one tool to take into the wilderness. He said it would be a heavy meal trash bag. I mean, you can lay this down for your ground cover when you put your tarp up. I mean, there's just a ton of uses. You can even carry water in this if you need to. So to me, and it's lightweight, it's easy, it's cheap. You can get a big box of them, which we keep those here. We keep boxes of these here. This is a big one. Here is this is actually the tack bivvy. Tack bivvy inside, it's got the Mylar material. So there's a number of different things that you can use to make your shelter. You know, you can go to REI and spend $500 on a pack or whatever, and that's great too. But that's going to take away your ability to really outfit the rest of your gear with other things. But if you have the money, you know, you can go to those more state-of-the-art, more expensive, but yet better quality. So I'm not downing it. I think that if you can do that, then do it. Another thing is having, and this is my rain jacket. I just keep my rain jacket in here. Need to keep the rain off of you.
Yep.
And typically rain jackets are large enough where you can put them back over your pack if you need.
That's right.
Even though this is a direct action sports pack and it's somewhat water resistant, the material is, but down in the zippers and those places, they can get wet.
Yep.
So big plus. Okay, so exposure, 3 hours. You got to make sure you cover that. That is actually one of the most important things that you can do. Now, next is water. One of the things about water is, you know, you can boil your water. You can get the, you know, you can make it safe by just building a little fire. But for me, I really don't like, I may be on the move. I may need to get out of Dodge. Now, one thing I typically carry is a filter straw. This is one of the Frontier Pro filter straws. I can just go down, I can use this and drink out of it right from the water.
Right out of the stream or river. Yep.
But now I do usually keep, you know, like one of the Katadyn Pros, if I can try to keep that. Only thing is, those are kind of heavy. But I do like that because I can filter water into a container.
That's right.
And that's one of the things. Now, as far as for water, you do need a container. Now, one thing I have, and I think I've got it in this other pack, I've got another one right here that I just recently took to a Fieldcraft survival school. And I took this pack. It had a lot of essentials. It has one of the military canteens, and it has one of the cups that fits on the bottom. That's a great option. And so that's something. But the one thing about boiling your water is you still have the sediment, you still have the taste.
Yep.
And so I really like to have something a little different. But one thing that I have, and I have my water container, and I also have a cup. And so I can cook, I can boil my water if I need to. If I need to cook, I can. And then, you know, I've got my container. I can actually boil out of this container. Let's take my lid off. So this is really great. In fact, this is one of the Pathfinder bottles. I just got this recently. I've been looking for one for a while. I've been using the military canteens with the cup on the bottom, but I upgraded and I haven't obviously used it yet. But Dave Canterbury does a great job and with his designs. And so I was really excited to get that. So water, take care of your water. You've got to stay hydrated. Now, I don't typically keep a bladder in the back of my pack. I just don't. But that is also a great option to have. So water bottles on the side are great, but you're going to have a way to filter water because that water runs out quickly. You need about 1 gallon per day. So you don't want to carry that. It weighs about 8 pounds.
That's right.
So water, very important. Now, when it comes to food, and that's one of the things, because you can live 3 weeks without food, but you don't want to. One of my go-tos is the Sos Lifeboat Food. This is 3,600 calories. It's ready to eat. I can snap it off. I can eat it. It's like graham cracker with a little bit of moisture to it. It's just it's really good. In fact, years ago, I did a video on this, and I ate the whole bar while I was sitting there on camera. I was full for a couple of days, but you know, they're really good and they last for 5 years. So you can put this in. That's one of the things a lot of people, I got my Cliff Bars, I got all that stuff doesn't hold up long. I've done it. It just doesn't do well.
They're a little bit of heat, then they start melting. They get all gooey. They're hard to get out of the package and hard to eat. And,
well, and one of the big things about having a get-home bag, and this is part of the philosophy, is make sure that you know where your items are, know that you know what's in the bag, make sure you haven't stolen out of it. It's really easy to do. I did a video actually a while back talking about checking out your bag. Get it out, check it, check the flashlights, check to make sure the pins are working, make sure that the lighters are working. And it was funny because even on camera, I took my big lighter out and guess what? It didn't work. So, you know, not only does it run out of fuel when it gets hit, but also that little wheel gets corroded sometimes and it sticks. So just be careful what you're relying on, which we're going to get to that. Now, fire is part of all of this. In fact, for the exposure, you know, you can build a fire, you can cook your food, it gives you warmth, and it keeps predators at bay, keeps your morale up. I keep a fire kit. This is my fire kit. It's orange. I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you guys, we've been to bonfires before. And when they start to pull out the gasoline, I go, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's hold on. Hold the phone there. You know, it's really important to have a fire kit. But like Robbie said, you don't want to have just one source way to create fire.
Mm-hmm.
I like multiple ways to create fire.
It just creates redundancy in your pack. You know, if one item fails, you've got a backup. If that item fails, you've got a backup. You know, it's why my pack, I've got multiples of a lot of different things. There's multiple knives in my pack.
Right.
For that very same reason. If I break a blade, I want a replacement. I don't want to be without a knife.
Right.
Yeah, if my lighters don't work, I want another way to be able to start a fire. I want multiple ways to be able to stay warm. I want multiple ways to stay dry. And that's why we've got like the trash bags and the rain jacket and the tarps and stuff, because it gives you redundancy in your pack that are also multiple use tools that you can use for different things.
Especially for those really basic survival things that you really need.
And the things that you have to have.
Right. Now, this is the Exotac fire roll. And this is just cool. Now, I've normally kept mine in a little small Maxpedition pouch, which I still have, and I still have those. But this is something, I love the color, I love the design, and it obviously it fits quite a bit. This may be a little bit larger than you want to use for your fire kit, but I'm a firebug. Yeah. Okay, so in fact, it Velcros together. I actually did a full review on this actual tool roll. And so inside I have all my fire creating implements, and then I have my tools also in the back. One of the things you definitely need is tinder. Here we have some tinder tabs. Guys, trying to start a fire with just wood takes a while, especially if you're using your standard fire steels. Yep. And this is some of the Exotac fire steels. These things are great. In fact, Exotac gives a 20% discount using Sootch 20, and I have the link down below in the description because I am such a big fan. They finally said, dude, we'll give your viewers a 20% discount because you talk about Exotac all the time. And so, and that's just started recently, but I've been using Exotac for a long time. And this is their Fire Rod XL. We've got a video coming out about this. This thing is phenomenal. Keep your tinder in the back. You have your duct tape. I mean, this is just great. But I use fire steels. I also use big lighters, but I put them in these fire sleeves, but you don't have to do that. Again, guys, this is up and above. You don't have to do these things, but having a big lighter is vital. Yep. And so let's just see if this one works. Well, it does. Okay, good. I'm telling you guys, if you get out with a lighter, you will find that it's a 50-50 chance a lot of times. And then, you know, like the old magnesium bars. Yep. I mean, these still work. They still work. You have a striker here. You have your magnesium, which you'll use as a fire tinder. And then you have your striker. And these are really cheap. Dirt cheap. And I think you can pick those up for like $3 or $4 a piece. And really, you can pick up these ferrocerium rods pretty inexpensively. I mean, there's a lot of fire starters out there. So, you know, you don't have to necessarily go with an Exotac. Get you a little pouch, put some standard fire steels in there, get you a couple of big lighters. Make sure, again, you have tinder. Now, this is some of the Fierce Fire, and this was from Ingalls Creek Outdoors. I don't think he's doing that now, but this is impregnated wood. It burns like crazy. I can use a fire steel on this, and it'll catch on fire immediately. Wow. So it's just good stuff. But there's a lot of different ideas, and in fact, I have some of those torch lighters. Those things work great. Yeah. But they're dependent on your fuel. And so there again, that's one of the things I really like about having a fire steel. And I may use that big lighter. I may use the torch lighter first. I might use matches first. But finally, I'm like, okay, these aren't working. Let's go with the fire steel. Especially something like this. You can use this thing forever. So fire kits. You need to. Now, Vaseline and cotton balls make a great fire tinder. Absolutely. Guys, that stuff will burn like crazy. So that is one of the big things that I highly recommend, and it's cheap, easy to do. You don't have to order it. You just go to the store. You can get your Vaseline and cotton balls. Store it in a Ziploc bag. Yeah. It's an easy way to carry it, pack it. You can roll it up, squish all the air out, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space in your pack either. That's right. It's really easy to use. It's just great. Now, I heard one guy recently, he was talking about doing a petroleum-based antibiotic ointment and putting that on the cotton balls. Yep. And that way he's got that in case he has a cut or something, but then he can use it for fire tending as well, or fire tender. Yep. The only downside to that, if you're putting all of them in one bag, you run the risk of contaminating the rest of them when you go to pull one out. See, that's why we have it in here. That's true. That's very true. So fire kit, and that's part of really the basics. I mean, fire is, I mean, we've had fire from the beginning. And so it's really important to have the fire. Okay. And two, guys, just to let you know, Sarah Mack's over there, and we appreciate Sarah Mack for setting everything up. And she is monitoring. So if you have some questions, once she gets a number of them, we'll answer some questions. Okay. So let's see what we got. So we've got, now let's talk about medical. Guys, medical. I put my medical kit somewhere. We got a lot of stuff here.
A lot of stuff.
Again, guys, well, let me show you this one. This is one, and this is not a go mid-gear. Maybe you have to work on this one. This is what I take to the range. It's got my cat tourniquet, and then I've got compression gauze, hemostatic, stop the bleed, and nitrile gloves in this little pouch. And what I do is when we're at the range, I can stick this in my pocket. It's right there. Or there's a lot of people, and that's one thing I'm not the best at, is carrying medical on me all the time. But I do have one of the ankle rigs that I got from Warrior Poet Society. John sent that. That's a great thing to carry. You can carry that. But if you're shooting at the range, you definitely need to have some kind of trauma kit.
That's right. But you know, one of the big things that we did is, like you were talking about with the fire kit, it's orange, it's easy to see, it's easy to identify. The only cat tourniquets from North American Rescue that we carry are their orange tourniquets.
So you can see them.
For that very same reason. We want it to be very visible. We want it to be easily identifiable and easy to find when you need it.
Right.
So we only carry the orange ones for that very reason, to make them stand out and make them easier to find and identify.
Right. And you want, especially in a situation where you're trying to help someone to stop bleeding, or yourself, you want to be able to find it. And this is another little trauma kit. Same thing. Has the tourniquets are vital.
Yes. And
I try to keep 2 in my packs. One, and then if I need it, because sometimes you may need 2 if it's a really tough situation. And guys, here's the thing. Sometimes you have situations to where you're just on foot, you're making your way. There's not a lot of trouble going on. You just need to get home. And then there are situations where you may fight, civil unrest, or there's some kind of rioting going on, something like that. So, you have to balance it. Putting this together does not mean that the world's falling apart, but it does mean that you have your items. Now, one thing that I actually forgot about, that I just needed to mention up front, is you need to have your EDC items on you at all times. And of course, concealed carry, your extra magazines. Having extra magazines actually in your pack, which we're not going to show, is one thing that's important. And then of course you have your knife, and you have possibly a multi-tool. Sometimes I carry multi-tool, sometimes I don't. And then also one of the big ones is your flashlight. It's your primary source of light. And so anything that I personally just need, I can get to pretty quickly. And then the things obviously that I don't need on my body that I can carry here. Now, one of the problems though is, let's say your bag gets set down and then you end up being separated from it for whatever reason. Let's say some people are coming and you can't get to your bag without being seen. So really, a lot of times guys will have a small pack in here that's just their necessary bare bones survival pack. And you can actually keep that on your person, whether it's a fanny pack,
that's right,
whether it's just some kind of small pouch, even if it slips down into your cargo pants. But having something to be able to do. Now, another thing too to consider, like for me, I carry this bag with me in my vehicle. It's with me all the time. Wherever I'm going, there it is. The problem is I'm not always in the car by myself. I may be there with my wife and my family. And so having a few extra items in another bag can really come in handy if you ever find yourself with your family.
That's right.
Get home. Okay, I think we have some questions.
Johnny Boat asked, if you could choose among these packs, which would you prefer? Eberle stock 24-liter Switchblade, Helicon Tex 40-liter Summit, or the VanQuest 35-liter Ibex?
Well, I know that Eberle makes really great bags. They're pretty high priced, which is fine, if you're into that.
But they're extremely, extremely durable.
Sure,
the Eberle stock stuff is, if I was going to pick a high-end bag, and those are all high-end bags that he listed, if that was my choice, the Eberle stock is maybe just a little bit heavier, but it is extremely robust and durable. That would be my choice.
Now the Helicon Hex, I had not had a lot of experience with them until I got one of their fanny packs. It's one of their possums, waist pack. And we did a kit. In fact, we did a review on it. That is a really nice little fanny pack.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not big on fanny packs, but I'm becoming more of one.
I tell you, they fanny packs kind of went out of style in the 80s, 90s, whatever. But there is a tremendous use for multiple uses for those packs.
Yes.
And they're becoming more back in style. They're becoming more favorable again. I hate to say it, but they're a little more stylish than they used to be. I'm a big fan of fanny packs. I always have been, even when they weren't in style. I was still a fanny pack user when fanny packs weren't cool.
Well, with the fanny pack and with your bandana on your head, he is good to go.
Right back to 85.
In his Bermuda shorts.
That's right.
But and now the VanQuest bag. I have a VanQuest. It's the I can't remember which one it is, but it actually is my camera bag because it has these divides in it, and I have used that for about 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Every day, I beat the crap out of it. I'm using it. I'm pulling the zippers. I'm pulling it really tight. Those are great bags.
Yep.
So I don't know about the Helicon Hex bag. I don't know about it, but I do know that the other two are excellent. So either one, you should be good. I would also look at Mystery Ranch. Those are also really good packs as well. In fact, I have one back there that I use as my big go bag. If I need to get the heck out of here, that's what I'm using.
Chris McCaskill asked, Sootch, I understand it's better to bunker in. Thoughts on using an RV for bug out?
Well, I mean, to me, if I was that's the big thing about bugging out is, guys, you can't just put a pack on and feel like that you're going to make it. I mean, having an RV would definitely be a big plus. There's two problems. Number one is your gas. I mean, you may or may not. We've seen some of that here lately. Right. Even you may not be able to get gas for it. Secondly, you're a pretty large target. So while I'm not saying you shouldn't, and if I was going to evacuate from a hurricane, that would be the way to do it. But, if there's civil unrest and things like that going on, it is a static target, and, it can be really dangerous. I know John Lovell was talking about, he said if he was going to bug out, he would have his big trailer. And I think James Yeager said the same thing, have his big, huge trailer on the back, have that thing packed out with food and ammunition and all the stuff he needs. But again, when you're on the road, you're super vulnerable. So, but I think an RV could be a great option, in many situations.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely downsides to it with roads being blocked. You're kind of limited as far as where you can go off-road with most of your RVs. So there's definitely some negatives to it, but the ability to be able to pack and carry a lot of stuff with you, and as long as you've got extra fuel to be able to get you to what I would say a preferred known destination where you're going, it's definitely a viable solution.
Yeah, and have your location, your bug out location, whether it's at your brother's house, whether it's at some friends across town, is to make sure that you have that planned out ahead of time.
David Hain asked, 5 people and 5 cars in our house. I want one in each car. How do you make it affordable?
It's tough because I have the same situation, except my son now lives 2 houses down, but still he's right here with us, and I didn't prepare a pack. You have to go with the basics. You got to look at the food, the rule of threes. Make sure that they have a way to stay warm or stay cool in a bad environment. Make sure that they have a way to start fire. And one thing too is take them out and let them try to start fires. I know a lot of people that have bought all this fire gear. In fact, we went to this survival class, and most of those people, it was like the first time. I mean, they're interested in this, and it was like the first time. They were having a hard time getting a fire started, and
or even a spark sometimes.
Yeah. In fact, we had a fire clinic here for our prepper group, and we went outside and we set up some places, and I showed them different ways and went through it. And finally, a lot of them had never even tried it before. So make sure that you take your kids, your family out and try those things. Water, get your basics, get some kind of water filter, some kind of fire starting. I did a review on, kids bug out bags, but obviously if you've got 5 cars, it's not kids. But, having those things, those things that are necessities taken care of. I buy these by the case, and these are great. I like Mountain House. We have a bunch of different Wise Foods, Mountain House, all those hydrated MREs even. But MREs are kind of bulky. This, I can just whip this out. I can eat it. It's small, compact. So that's a good choice as well. Also, here in South Carolina, once you turn 18, you can be in possession of a handgun. And that's one of the things that we're big about, is I keep a handgun in each of my family's cars. I give them a gun. I say, keep this in your vehicle, lock it down, secure it, but it's always there with them. Mm-hmm. And my youngest son is 17. He's getting ready to turn 18, and he's already got a gun. He's just got it, he's really good with it, but he can't carry it anywhere. So that's one thing, self-defense, and of course, medical. You want to make sure you have medical. I know it's expensive, but you got to do incrementally as you can, and then just build up to it.
Well, that's one of the nice things with Go Med Gear is our build your own kit.
All right.
You can go in and you can select each individual item that you want to put in that kit and buy a single one or multiples of each one of those to go in each kit. And it's a way for you to build out a kit without having to buy a bunch of extra stuff that you don't need.
Right. Yes.
Lost Elf says, is the Grail worth the money?
I love the Grail. And I just watched a video by Graybeard Survival, who was a Army Ranger, and that's what he carries now. He's been carrying one for a year. I've got one. I love it. And honestly, let me just say this, because I was thinking about the Grail. I have it somewhere. That's the other thing. But, having the Grail gives you a container and a filter. Mm-hmm. So that's a great option to have. Endure makes a canteen that actually has a filter built in, and it fits down in your canteen cup. It's in that other bag. And that's what I carried for a long time. So again, and one thing is we're always tweaking our bags. There's always something we're kind of moving around. But yeah, the Grail is excellent. The Holy Grail.
Well, and there's a lot of things too that as you upgrade your bag, that you can take those items that you're not using anymore and pass those down to family members to use in their bags as well.
That's exactly right. Yes.
John Bahadur asks, can you eat lifeboat food after it's expired? Or its expired date?
Usually what they'll do is they'll put a 5-year shelf life on it. It'll be after that time you can still use it. I think the biggest thing is once you open it up and you smell it, if it smells fine, you should be able to eat it. The way it's preserved. The other thing about the lifeboat food is it doesn't make you thirsty. So you're not going to eat this and then be like super thirsty and drink a bunch of water that you may need later on.
RLRL says, what about leaving your bag in the car/truck when it gets hot out? It gets way hotter in the vehicle, and I've often wondered about hurting the contents in the bag.
Really, the biggest contents that it's going to affect would be your food. And these are used to be on lifeboats, which are going to be out in the elements. So, and the way this thing is condensed in, I don't really think it's going to hurt it, but I understand that is definitely a point. Most of your other stuff, maybe a lighter. One thing though is once it's in the bag, it keeps a better temperature.
Yep.
You're not going to be as exposed to that heat as you would if it was just laying out. So the bag will insulate it somewhat. Your water, I don't think, heat. Here's the thing, maintain your bag. Mm-hmm. And what I would do is if I'm in a lot of extreme heat, if you've got water, which I don't even have water in here. Now I usually keep some water, or I would get water and fill it up before I would go somewhere. But the one thing is switch out your water once a month. Just switch it out. And it should be fine in the heat, and especially if it's out of the sunlight. It's not going to create algae.
Well, like we've talked about before with water, it's not a bad idea for water and perishable goods to keep a small cooler in the back of your car. You don't even have to put a cooler tab or anything like that in it. You just have to have the cooler in your car. You can put your items in there, close it up, and it insulates it and protects it from all of the heat.
Right. And when you need to go, you don't have to take the cooler. You
That's
can just
right.
throw it in your bag. That's a great idea.
Service Venator says, question, do you keep a small firearm and ammo in the pack, or do you rely on EDC?
No, I would keep maybe a Glock 19 in here with some extra magazines, definitely. And I don't carry a lot of ammo. One of the things about, when you're getting home, you want to have enough to, fight World War III, but it's going to weigh a lot in your pack. So typically I'll have a few extra magazines, maybe 2 or 3 with that gun. And then I definitely have my sidearm with my magazine.
So I go a little different approach with mine. My carry gun, my Glock 19 is always on my hip, and my extra magazines. I do keep a couple of extra magazines in my bag, but I carry a 22 and a couple of 100 rounds of 22 ammo in my bag.
Yeah, that's
it's small, it's lightweight. I can stick a silencer on it, keep it in there in case I need it. And that's one of the tools that I do keep in my get home bag.
That's a great idea.
Because a 22 is an awesome survival tool, for multiple uses. You can hunt with it, you can defend yourself with it. It's just a great tool. It's got a low report, low recoil. There's a lot of benefits to keeping a 22 in there. Lightweight, depending on what model you choose.
But you put a suppressor on there and it gets really quiet.
Absolutely.
Okay. One more question and we're going to continue.
Okay. Dragon Shield 1776 asks, as a trucker, I've always considered a bike as a best get-home solution, especially a folding bike. Why don't prepper channels address this more?
Well, it's according if you have room for your bike. I mean, typically for me, my thing is I jump in my vehicle. If I'm getting home, I'm not necessarily carrying a bike with me. Now, I could do that as a standard operation. What was really funny is I saw one of those skateboards that are electric. I saw a guy this weekend in Atlanta, and he had one of those, and he is cruising down the road. And I thought that would be a great option.
But I tell you, for somebody that's like an over-the-road trucker, that you have the extra space to be able to put a bike on there. And if you got caught way away from home and that was your only transportation, I would absolutely consider keeping a bike on your truck.
Yeah, especially on a truck. Yep. That's right. Yeah, and even some kind of scooter, you can travel really fast, a lot faster on something like that. But yeah, that would be a good idea for definitely if you're extended out distance. Yep. Okay, let's talk about tools. One of the things, and we really hadn't gotten into that yet, but one of the big things is a knife. And I've got a SE4 right here. SE, I mean, this is really one of my go-to knives. I love this knife. It's capable. It's thick. These things are built like tanks, and they keep a good sharp edge retention. Now, there are a lot of other choices out there. Obviously, we just got back from Blade Show. But now, that's the size I carry. But sometimes, let's see, I think I've got it on the outside of my pack right here. This is the SE6, and it's large, and I have it in this leather sheath. And on here, I have a fire steel. I also have a sharpener. And so I really like that extra. And this is great for processing firewood even more than the SE4. But the thing is, it's going to weigh. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be a lot bigger. So could I really probably get away with the SE4? Probably could. So this is just something part of the philosophy, of talking about this. Now, one of the things, though, I will say is one fixed blade knife, of course, I have the knife in my pocket. One fixed blade knife is not the end all. And so what I really like, and did I bring it? Yeah, well, I did. But I would highly recommend, guys, is getting a Mora knife. They're cheap. They just are great little knives. Yep. Great for processing food. You can prep food with it. You can process fire tinder very easily. That Scandi grind is excellent. In fact, I took my SE4 to this survival school, and while it would do it, when a buddy of mine handed me this one, he said, "Try this, Don." This was a Garberg this is an SE. I mean, this is a Mora knife, but it's one of their higher end knives. One of the things but it's a great knife, but here's one of those things. This is like $125. The standard Mora knife, they start out at $9.99. In fact, I was up at Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and a buddy of mine said, "Hey, pick me up some Mora knives." I'm getting confused. Some Mora knives, and he gave me $50, and I bought bought four knives. And so that is one thing. And the guy that actually asked the question earlier about having to outfit, a Mora knife to me would be my choice because it's inexpensive, but it's good quality. Yep. And so they've been using them for years. They're made in Sweden. And so they're just excellent. This is an upgrade. This is not something that I would highly recommend that just you go out and buy if you haven't gotten your bag, if you haven't gotten your water system and all that. Get the Mora, cheap Mora, but it is limited. And so you're going to have, like batoning, doing things like that. You want to have something a little heavier.
That's right, with a lot thicker edge on it.
Right, and thicker spine. Yep. Make sure it's full tanked, though, especially with the knife you're going to be using like this.
Yeah, not the 1985 survival knife that goes with this cool bandana.
So, actually, sometimes the tools need to be different. Just not, I got a knife. Well, I've got a Kershaw Leak in my pocket, and this is definitely just one I'm carrying just for fiddling around here today. But this is not something that I would want to be caught with if I was in a survival situation, and not the only knife. Okay, so now the next thing is a multi-tool, and I've got one somewhere in here, but multi-tool is definitely one of those that, in fact, I think it's right down here, something that can come in handy. But let me just say this: if you're in an urban situation, if you're in a somewhere heavy populated area, or just even lightly, but there's people around, you might need this. But to be honest with you, now I've got it open. But see if you can close that plate. That's also a pair of pliers, and it's got all the tools. I like them on the outside, but
there's a lock on this one.
There is a lock.
You keep talking.
Okay, you got it. All right, thank you, Robbie. I need help. We all need help from our friends. And then of course, you have your pliers. You have, an awl is probably the most important tool on here. Maybe a small saw. But if you're in a really bushcraft situation, you're not really going to need a multi-tool unless you're trying to fix your gear or do something like that. But I really like to have a multi-tool because you never know. Plus, it has an extra knife on here, so it's redundant.
Well, I tell you were talking about saws, and I see one over there in the bag. That right there is one of my favorite tools for my bag. There is so much you can do with that, from processing game, cutting firewood, cutting wood to build shelters with. They're small, they're compact, and those things will rip through a small tree in no time.
This is absolutely amazing.
Yep.
And this is the Pocket Boy. They make some different models. This thing will cut like you have never seen, and it's great quality. Don't just go out and buy just some cheap saw.
That's right. I mean, the multiple blade angles on it, it cuts in both directions, so it cuts pushing and pulling. It locks open, so you don't have to worry about it folding on you.
Right.
Some of the cheaper ones don't. Some of the cheaper ones don't lock, or the locks are suspect at best on them. But that one's got a good solid lock on it. It locks open. It's got a padded handle, which until you start cutting a lot, you don't realize the importance of that padded handle. But you can work a blister up quickly with one of those things, the way it moves around in your hand a little bit. So the good padded handle, the good lock on it, yeah, that's a must-have right there.
Well, we cut a 6-inch cedar tree with one of these when we were doing the survival class, and pulled this out, and I mean, it cut it like butter. It just went. I prefer this over an axe, and one of the big reasons is you can't hurt yourself as readily with a saw. With an axe, you can actually swing down, you can cut yourself. I know a guy who actually cut himself with an axe in his leg. And you really need to be careful, but especially in a survival situation, even with your knives, you've got to be careful not to get hurt.
What's funny, you watch a lot of these survival shows on TV, like Alone. That's one that I've really always liked, that show. But a lot of the contestants on there end up getting sent home because of an axe injury or a knife injury.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, they cut themselves pretty severely in a lot of cases, just even trying to cut kindling. They get complacent, they're tired, they're fatigued because they haven't had enough food. They're trying to chop some kindling to build a fire. And next thing you know, they've got a huge laceration on them.
Right. I mean, it's so easy to do. Yep. And this actually takes less energy to me to use. One thing that I do like, too, as far as tools.
And the shavings you can use for tinder.
Yeah, you can use the shavings, and you can put your bandana down there and get the shavings.
Yep.
But one thing that I like for a tool, especially more in an urban, but maybe not even that, is a pry bar. I like to have a really sturdy pry bar, something about yay big, something nice. Sometimes you can get different shapes. In fact, I usually keep this in here, and I had to use it for something. And that's the danger, is stealing out of your bag. You've got to be careful. But taking that pry bar, if somebody's pinned under something, or if a car door, you can't get it open, or you need to jimmy a lock, or you need to do something, a pry bar is really a handy tool.
Yeah.
One of the things about it, though, is usually weighs quite a bit. So you got to be careful. Now, another thing that I'm going to go into now is a knife. I mean, not a knife. We got into knives. Is my map. Here I've got my map. This is the Direct Action Sport Dust. It has that little cover. It's perfect. I do have some map cases where I can keep the map from getting soaked. Guys, maps are getting harder and harder to find. Yep. And usually I'll find them at travel centers, where truckers are stopping, and they'll have maps. Your GPS is great, but you can have issues with it. I had that whole situation happen last couple of years ago, where I was up out of town. GPS told me to go a different way. There was a lot of road construction, and my GPS went out. I mean, it couldn't even tell me what I was doing.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm sure every one of y'all can identify with this. You've been somewhere that you lost your signal, you lost your internet, your GPS went down, and all of a sudden you've got this empty, sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach because you're like, I have no idea where I'm going at this point because I have lost my signal on my digital device that's telling me where I need to go. You know, up until about 20 years ago, we all still used maps to get around. If you were traveling somewhere, you pulled out the map, you traced out your route, you knew exactly where you were going based off of that map. You had, you know, all of your roads, you had everything identified, and most people knew how to use a map. But with our digital devices, with the GPS and everything, it's gotten us away from learning and using these basic tools that are almost a necessity in any kind of grid down or survival or get home situation. What happens if the battery goes dead on your phone? You drop it, you step on it, you break it. Oh crap!
Yeah, you drop it in water.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know how to get home. Map every time.
And this map has been used for that purpose. Also, a compass, and learn how to use it.
That's right.
There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube. One thing I also keep is Ranger beads or pace beads. So, you know, having a way to be able to get from point A to point B. This past weekend, we were up in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And my brother and I went to the store and we came back because the cabin was way up in the middle of this dark road. And we got turned around. Yep. We missed our turn. We got down in this hole and our GPS wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting there and I said, this would be a great place for a horror movie. Yeah. Then we started hearing banjos playing and man, we were out of there. But, you know, we couldn't get signal on our GPS. So, you know, definitely having a way to be able to get to where you need to go.
That's right.
Okay. Light is your number one security tool. And here on the outside of my bag, and I think I pulled it out. I have a, oh, here it is. I have a headlamp. If I only had one flashlight, it would be the headlamp.
Yeah.
Because I can put it like Robbie has his bandana. I can put this around my head. I can see hands free, and it's just a great. I mean, light is important.
That's right.
For a lot of different
things.
And
once again, you've got redundancy in your pack. There's another one. And both of those are in your pack, and then you still got one in your pocket.
Got one in my pocket. I have one in my fire kit.
Yep.
And I have extra batteries, which is also a key. And so my batteries right here where I can get to them. Now, speaking of power, is you need to have a charger.
Yep.
You need to have a battery backup. And you need to have your cables. Make sure you have your cables.
And multiple cables. Even if they're the same, you need to have some extras. Because once again, how many of you have been out driving somewhere, you got to plug your phone in and the end snaps off or a wire breaks inside your cable and now you can't charge your phone. That's one of those things. It's small, it's lightweight. You can get the cables in different lengths from like 6 inches all the way up to like 6 feet. Get the smaller ones. That way they're more compact in your pack, and get a couple of them. That way you've got redundancy.
Yeah. And and this is one of the dark energy power banks. And I'm going to tell you guys, I've got a number of power banks. This is our go-to. I mean, we have used this thing and it keeps a charge forever. It's just, and it's bulletproof according to them. I haven't shot it because they're not cheap. But probably need to shoot one just to test it out.
Now, see, I went the opposite direction with mine. I ended up getting mine off of Amazon. It's like a 22,000 mAh battery pack. It'll charge 4 cell phones for like 3 days straight before it runs out of battery, before it runs down. I can do my phone and I can do my phone, my tablet, and my flashlight for like a week on this thing before I have to recharge it. It's about the size of an AR-15 30-round magazine. And probably weighs about as much as a loaded AR-15 30-round magazine, but it is a tremendous amount of power that you can carry in your pack for longer extended uses.
Yeah. So,
and they're like $30.
All right. Yeah. Just playing around.
Don't disagree. It very well could be, but I've had the same one for like 6 years, and it's traveled all over with me.
Right.
And never had any kind of issues with it. And
the weight's a little bit.
It's heavier. Yes, it's definitely heavier.
Okay. Whistle. I have a whistle. I have it slipped in here. One thing too, guys, and the reason why I put it in here, I had it on the outside of my pack, and I took my pack and I shook it to see what kind of noise it would make, and that thing was rattling around. That's another thing you want to be careful of is noise discipline. Make sure that you have things secured on your bag. Make sure that you're doing that. Now, another thing too, and some people don't necessarily think about it, is having some kind of pad to write down some things. This is a write and rain pad, and I have some different pens here, and I do keep a Sharpie. So, there can be times where you need to write down something, and it's something you may forget otherwise, and have that set aside. So while that's not super like survival important, but it could really help, and it's very lightweight. Trying to think if there's anything else I have in here that I want to pull out. Oh, duh. Extra socks. This is a big one.
Yep.
And one thing I do keep is a watch cap and some gloves. You know, on my hands. Also keep, you know, sunglasses are great, but have some kind of safety glasses as well. And
I keep multiple pairs of socks in my bag. Just you need to be changing your socks out every few hours if you're walking a lot. You get wet feet, you get sweaty feet, you get blistered feet, you're not walking anymore feet. So you gotta keep your feet dry.
Paracord. You need cordage. Cordage is vital, and this is just one of the spool tools. This is a great little option, but you don't have to have that. You can keep your paracord. This just keeps it more organized. But I like that, and I like bank line. Bank line is really good, especially for tying smaller knots. But cordage is vital. It's going to get your tarp up and get it off the ground. It's going to help you to do that. Let me see. There was, and then and this is something that goes with the knives, and I had it down in there. But this is the Gerber Principle. This is a USA-made Gerber. You know, they have a line of USA-made. This is a wonderful fire tender processor. I mean, it just cuts and it bites into the wood, and I love it. This is just a great knife, and it's got that Scandi grind, so it's really cutting into the wood, has that longer edge where you can really get it in there. Did a review on this a while back. I love this knife, and really this is a more expensive option than your Mora. Your Mora can pretty much do the same. This is a little thicker. It's a little nicer knife, but you know, as far as if you're looking for something to upgrade, think about the Principle. If you're just looking to pack your pack out, go with the Mora. Mora is just a excellent little knife. Okay, let me see. I'm finding things in here, so I want to make sure I'm not. I'm going, wow, I forgot about that. But guys, you know, there's just a lot. Now, some people might say, hey, you need to change your clothes in there. That would probably be good. Yeah, there's my Streamlight.
Another flashlight.
Little Sidewinder. And this has red, which is great. Red filter. You can have your red light to preserve your night vision. And it does a lot of things. And it's angled. You can set it down. You can shine it. But that, again, is an upgrade. It's not necessarily what you need. This is just a pair of binoculars. And you want to be able to identify some things. Now, this is a cheap little small pair of Tascos. I don't think they can make those anymore. But these are great little binoculars just for handy whatever. And I try to keep some of these items right here where I can get to them. And this is a screw pop. And this is just something I had in here. But this is a small little nut driver, really. And you can put different things in there, and you can have a bottle opener. So if you run across a case of beer and bottles, you know, or whatever, you can. That's mandatory. I know it's funny because a lot of guys start laughing. They have all these multi-tools. There's always a bottle opener on it. They go, what do you need a bottle opener for? They haven't been around that long.
That's right.
Okay, but another thing I like to do, and this is just a few things about the pack itself. I like to have all my lines secure. I don't like them hanging all off and falling off. So I like to have keepers. And if it doesn't come with keepers, you can make it out of Velcro. In fact, we did a video on that, putting Velcro and being able to attach. This has compression straps, so I can bring that pack close together. It's another thing, you don't want loose stuff bumping around. And then paracord pulls, but I like to put a heat shrink tube on them. This gives me a softness, but it allows me to get to that zipper with gross motor skills. I can just zip it. Now, this one has a lot of moly, laser cut moly on here, and if you wanted to put some packs on here, you could. I'm not big on that, but you definitely can do that.
I'm not either. And, you know, like you were talking about with the straps and stuff to cinch everything down, one of the big reasons for that is to pull the pack in and make it as compact and as close to your body as possible. The further off your body it gets, the more weight, the more it shifts your center of gravity and your weight distribution. So you tend to lean forward more when you're walking because of the heavy pack pulling you back. So you end up leaning forward more, which causes fatigue and strain on your back and is not nearly as ergonomic and comfortable as a pack that pulls everything in and is nice and tight to you, that you can walk more vertically.
Speaking as an old Marine, he knows.
I've walked a little bit.
That has a lot to do with these socks you were talking about. Now, one last thing, and we're going to be finishing up because it's time. I just have some of these wipes, these baby wipes. This is the Epic Massive Wipes. And this is just a little pack I threw in here because you want to keep clean.
Yep.
You want to keep sanitary as much as you can. And so this is just, and two, this goes great as toilet paper, which some TP in here would probably be a good option.
And you know, we've got on Go Med Gear, we've got these little single-use 5x7 wipes that are individually packed, and they're super, super small. They're almost like the size of the little alcohol wipes that you get, or the Sandy wipes that you get if you go and eat ribs or something.
Right.
They're like those, super small, super compact. You can put a bunch of them in your pack, almost no weight. It's a great option as well.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I think that wraps it up. We're at 1 o'clock, and we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Again, we really appreciate Sportsman's Guide. $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch. No 00, just Sootch. And then two, of course.
Yeah, make sure you sign up for their Buyers Club. Free shipping on almost every item that they have. And when you sign up for their website, make sure you get their magazine. Dude, these things are awesome. Love their magazine.
Something to read instead of looking at your phone all the time.
That's right.
But we really appreciate Robbie Wheaton for being here. And check out WheatonArms.com, especially if you're looking for Glock aftermarket parts. And then he does custom gun work. And GoMedGear.com, website links down below in the description. And we really appreciate Sarah Mack for helping out.
Yep.
So,
and then once again with Go Med Gear, we've got a big flash sale coming up the 18th of June. Starts at midnight on the 17th and goes till midnight on the 18th. And so sign up for our newsletter on Go Med Gear or a newsletter on WheatonArms.com, and we'll be sending out some more information about that as well.
So be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.